Tonight we report on a shooting Sunday afternoon in Moses Lake, and the Moses Lake School Board is meeting this week to discuss what's next after a failed construction bond. What's happening in the sports, Bob?
Thanks, Alan. Moses Lake wrestlers claim the Region 4 crown, and afraid of girls basketball takes an early postseason exit. Let's take a peek at our Weather Center forecast.
Here in the weather department, we're getting a little bit on the bored side. We're looking at very tranquil weather for much of the work week. In fact, lots of sun coming our way. Details coming up shortly.
I'm Alan Troop, and we have all this and much more on Ifiber One News.
From the Ifiber One HD studio here in the heart of the Columbia Basin, this is Ifiber One News, your #1 source for local news, sports headlines, and our very own Weather Center forecast covering the entire Columbia Basin. This is Ifiber One News, and it starts now.
Two people were shot along Stratford Road on Sunday afternoon in Moses Lake. According to Moses Lake Police Captain Dave Sands, a 21-year-old Moses Lake man is in custody for allegedly shooting two people near the intersection of Stratford Road and Knowles Vista Drive. A witness was able to follow the suspect, who allegedly fled on a bicycle and was arrested nearby. A 30-year-old Moses Lake man suffered life-threatening injuries and was flown by MedStar to an out-of-area hospital. The second victim, a 17-year-old Moses Lake male, suffered non-life-threatening injuries and was taken to Samaritan Hospital. Moses Lake police are investigating the shooting. Demolition has begun at the future site for Grand Transit Authority's new transit center in Moses Lake. The center will serve as a hub for Grant Transit and other bus lines. Reporter Jeff Chu has the story.
Old structures are being demolished this week to clear the way for a $1.7 million Grant Transit multimodal transit center. The site is at 5th Avenue and Division Street in Moses Lake. A crew with Central Washington Excavating of Moses Lake began demolition work Monday morning. Grant Transit General Manager Greg Wright and others with the agency watched as the heavy equipment ripped through the former funeral home structures like they were made of paper. While demolition and site clearing is expected to go quickly, actual construction of the transit center will not begin until next fall after state transportation funding is approved.
The next week or so, this should be leveled and hopefully the majority of the structure off-site. Hopefully by spring of next year that we would be serving this facility.
The transit center to be used by commuters will cover about an acre of land Grant Transit purchased for the center. Grant Transit is seeking a regional mobility program grant through the State Department of Transportation to pay for up to 80% of the transit center's costs. State lawmakers are expected to budget the grant this spring, which would prompt the center's construction. The grant was expected to get legislative approval through the state transportation budget. Asbestos was removed from the existing structures on the site. The transit center is planned to serve as a hub for Grant Transit and other bus lines. It will include passenger amenities such as an enclosed waiting area, public restrooms, customer information, pass sales area, bicycle storage lockers, and a taxi drop-off and pickup area. The center will include a park and ride with an electric vehicle charging station, transfer areas to intercity bus transportation, a meeting room for community events, and video camera surveillance as part of its security system. I'm Jeff Chu for Ifiber One News.
The Moses Lake School Board is meeting this week to discuss alternatives to alleviate overcrowding after the construction bond to build a second high school failed. Reporter Joe Utter has the details.
The Moses Lake School Board is holding a study session on Thursday to determine how to proceed following the failure of the construction bond. The board meets at 4 p.m. at the district boardroom located at 940 East Yanazawa Boulevard. The meeting is open to the public. The $98 million bond for a new high school and renovations to the Moses Lake High School failed to achieve the required 60% supermajority in the recent election. Voters cast 54% of the ballot in favor of the bond. Moses Lake School District Superintendent Michelle Price said she wanted to use the time to determine if they want to go through with the change to year-round class schedule or consider alternatives. School board member Kevin Donovan suggested the time for looking at alternatives has passed. Price added that every construction bond in the state, which passed in the February election, had been run multiple times before approval. This is Joe Utter reporting for Ifiber One News.
And now we take a look at people being sought by law enforcement.
This is Sheriff Tom Jones with the Grant County Sheriff's Office. Each of the people you see here have a warrant for their arrest. If you see any of these people, we ask you do not attempt to detain or apprehend them, but call us at 509-762-1160 or send us an email at primetips@co.grant.wa.us. If the person is presenting a danger, call 911. With your help, we can bring these people to justice and make our community safer.
Short break. We'll be back right after this.